How's it going, everyone? It's Avi from Marshall Shot 1000. Today is February 8th, 2021, and today we're obviously going to focus on the potentially major northeast snowstorm that could happen later during the week, and we could see snow as early as tomorrow in some areas in the northeast. And we'll also talk about this next potentially major blockbuster snowstorm that could impact the entire eastern half of the United States. I'm talking about the southeast and Midwest, including the Northeast. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the GFS model. We're going to take a look first at this first snowstorm, which is expected to dump a decent amount of snow in the Northeast. I wouldn't say major, but it should be at least big enough to the point where you at least need to be aware of it traveling tomorrow during the day, because there's going to be a decent amount of snow in some areas with higher snowfall rates that could make road conditions slick. So let's take a look at the GFS model, and this as of right now, well, approximately at this time where we see a little bit of snow showers throughout Missouri and throughout the Mississippi River Valley, and it is expected to move further eastward along with the jet stream winds, and as it does so, it's going to encounter a little bit more unstable air to strengthen it just enough to bring at least a decently big snow event to the Northeast from this first snowstorm, because you see going a little bit further, the snow swath widens a little bit, it broadens, where it's now affecting Michigan areas more northward, and then even further southward we begin to see the heavier contours begin to form as a result of the convergence between the very cold Arctic air and the warmer southeast air that's pretty much converging to create a little bit of a convergent zone where the heavier snowfall squalls are forming, and then they're expected to increase even more in terms of size and in terms of the strength of the snowfall rate. So keep that in mind as we head towards tomorrow, where around midday tomorrow, let me show you guys a futurecast radar because it better exemplifies the timing of when all this is going to happen. So Monday tonight, the snow showers should spread throughout the Ohio River Valley and throughout southern Michigan. So I wouldn't expect much snow from it, maybe 1 to 3 inches if you're lucky, but it's definitely gonna, the chances of getting over an inch of snow from this definitely increase as we head more and more towards the Northeast, where it's going to encounter an area of higher instability, where the atmosphere is going to be a lot more unstable, and we're going to see a lot more convection as a result of this once this storm heads further eastward towards the Northeast. And you see by Tuesday 10 a.m. New York City metropolitan area, and it's going to be a close call right around middle Jersey and maybe New York City, because you guys won't be too far from the rain snow line. So there is that possibility that it might just be, and you guys don't receive much of any accumulation. However, I think the most likely scenario is that New York City will at least experience around 1 inch of snow from this, and I think those northwest, like around my area, New Jersey, will experience a little more closer to the 2 to 4 inch range. And then you see that throughout Pennsylvania, throughout most of Pennsylvania, you're under the snow. And I'd say Philadelphia will miss out on this, south of Philadelphia, mainly because this low pressure the jet stream is going to be in a position where it's going to be sort of in the center of where New Jersey is. And obviously if you go further southward of the jet stream, the air is a lot warmer, so it's warm enough to make it an all rain event for the most part in areas in Philadelphia and just south of Philadelphia. However, a lot of New England should get impacted the worst. I'd say southern New England, which includes Hartford, Connecticut, Boston, Massachusetts, and just a lot of the southeast New England should get impacted the worst, because it is where the storm will reach its max intensity, at least within the continental United States. So do not and while it will strengthen as it heads further out to sea, it won't really be much in effect for the United States. So it's also going to be a relatively fast mover. It won't stick around for a long time, which is the reason why not a ton of snowfall accumulation is forecast for this. However, it's still at least a decent amount of snow to at least be aware of when driving out tomorrow, especially during the morning, right around the New York City metropolitan area, and throughout the afternoon on Tuesday for a lot of southeast New England. So for the most part, I'd expect right around 1 to 3 inches, maybe 2 to 4. Let's take a look at what the GFS model is forecasting with this first minor snowstorm. And if we move forward and take a look at the total snowfall, assuming 1 inch of rain equates to 10 inches of snow, the GFS is, I'd say, a little bit on the higher end when it comes to snowfall totals. It's in the purple, bringing at least bringing up to 4 inches in many areas, and a little bit more, closer to 5 inches. So if this were the case, then it could potentially be even more major. However, the European is a little bit more down to earth with the snowfall totals, as it expects more closer to 2 to 3 inches rather than the 5 inches that the GFS model is forecasting in New England and northern New Jersey. So if we take a look at the European models forecasts run with the snowfall forecast, and what the heck, it's not showing. Okay, there it is. All right, so when we take a look at the total snowfall accumulation, assuming 1 inch of rain equates to 10 inches of snow, so it could be slightly less than this, but here's the snowfall forecast. You see that for the most part it's around 4 inches for New England and northern New Jersey, so it should at least be something you guys need to be aware of, because 4 inches of snow, especially when it dumps in a quick time frame, could potentially create slick conditions on the road and could cause travel problems this Tuesday. So at least be aware of that. If you know that your car, or if you're going to be in an area that struggles with 4 inches of snow, then it might be best to just stay home that day, because 4 inches, I'd say 3 to 5 inches of snow is expected for a very broad area of New England from this first snowstorm. Now, moving on to this next potentially bigger snowstorm that's expected to impact a lot of the mid-Atlantic and maybe the Northeast. So let's take a look at the current forecasted radar based off of what the GFS model is saying. So as a storm passes by, there's going to be just enough of a pressure gradient between this ridge and this low pressure to bring at least a decent, at least a mildly strong northerly wind component with this. And that's going to keep the Arctic air at bay pretty much, and keep it right around the Northeast and the Midwest. So it will set the stage for future storms, including the next one I'm about to talk about, to form, because there's going to be a little bit more unstable air as a result of this cold air dipping further southward than it typically would, and there's going to be just enough unstable air in the Midwest to create this next big snowstorm. So if we take a look at what the GFS model is forecasting, there's going to be a very weak low pressure system coming off the Pacific Northwest, and it'll eventually move to the Midwest, bringing some scattered snow showers, but nothing major at all just yet, as you would be lucky to get an inch from these snow showers. But you see that as the snow pressure continues to move further southeastward, it's going to encounter an area of unstable air. And since the pressure is already relatively low, thanks to this weaker low pressure system, it's pretty much promoting very buoyant air molecules that will float aloft, and it's going to bring a lot of that humid air further aloft, which will condense into precipitation, and it could be heavy at times at that, since there's going to be a decent amount of thunderstorm activity. The air molecules are going to be very buoyant, where especially in the southeast, where there's going to be a little bit of that dip to create very buoyant air molecules and water vapor to go up aloft into the atmosphere, and that's going to create potentially higher snowfall rates than this first snowstorm. And this could dump a decent amount of snow in some areas, especially if you're closer to a rain snow line, where the convergent boundary is expected to be right around this area, where the Arctic air and the warm air interact with each other and create a very strong updraft in this region with very buoyant air molecules fuel updrafts right around that area to create a heavy snowfall there. And you see that This storm really forms like right around early Thursday. We see a broad area of snow throughout the Ohio River Valley, just north of the Ohio River Valley, affecting Columbus, Indianapolis, and Springfield, Illinois. So keep in mind that early Thursday to late Wednesday, the snow should begin for a lot of you guys, and it could be a decent amount. It's not going to be the heaviest in the Midwest. I'd say the more likely scenario is, I'd say 3 to 6 inches at this point, but there's still a decent amount of uncertainty when we're talking about a storm nearly 3 days out. So there could be drastic changes depending on how much unstable air there will be, because if this forms a little bit earlier, then expect a little bit more snow right around the Ohio River Valley, thanks to the increased chance of unstable air. But if we continue to move forward, there's 3 days from now, it's already affecting a lot of the mid-Atlantic states headed into midday Thursday, where Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New Jersey, and pretty much at New England, the snow is right at your doorstep. However, it doesn't seem the computer models are now leaning towards the forecast that this storm isn't really going to move very far north to really bring the most potential snowfall for New England and upstate New York, as now the computer models are leaning towards bringing the heaviest snow further south, and they're bringing the heaviest snow as far south as Maryland, Northern Virginia, and New Jersey. And the European model is also agreeing with this forecast. If we take a look at the surface and precipitation map, you're going to see that it's bringing most of the heavy snow further southward, just south of the Mason-Dixon line, which separates Pennsylvania and Maryland, and right around the DC area is experiencing the heaviest snow from this next snowstorm that's expected to be major in the mid-Atlantic at this point, where you could receive well over 6 inches and close to a foot in some areas, or maybe over a foot, because that's what the European model is leaning towards with its forecast, where many areas right around the Washington D.C. area are receiving over a foot of snow. As you can see, there's a low pressure system, and there's a decent amount of snow right towards the southern mid-Atlantic states, and like I said, right around DC and Delmarva Peninsula is experiencing the heaviest snow from this, as it seems like the ridge that's further up north is a little bit stronger than the computer models anticipated, so it's pushing that snow further southward. However, this doesn't at all mean you guys won't experience snow from this in New England and Northeast, because there's still that chance. However, the chance of getting the heaviest snow, like 6 to 12 inches, is becoming less likely from this second snowstorm that's expected to move through, as it seems like the heaviest snowfall, where you might receive 6 to 12 inches, will be closer to Washington, D.C., and the northern states might miss out on this. However, this Clipper system right here will be the thing that will bring the snow further up northward, affecting New England and affecting a lot of the Northeast. So if we take a look at that right now, you're going to see that there's at least going to be a decent amount of snow in the Northeast, but it won't be a ton of. I don't know what just happened here, but I'll just show you the GFS model, because this website's just crashing really bad for some reason. But if we take a look at the GFS model, you're going to see that there's going to be a little bit of a trough, a very weak trough moving through, and it's going to potentially bring that second wave of snow that's going to be further up northward. And if we take a look further, you see that snow swath goes a little bit further northward, affecting Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So it's not going to miss out on the Northeast entirely, as it seems like there's going to be, I'd say, right around 3 to 6 inches of snow. Taking a look at the European model forecasts, the snowfall accumulation forecast, you're going to see that the heavy snow is towards the Mason-Dixon line, right around Maryland and the DC area. So let's take a look at the snowfall accumulation forecast. I apologize it's taking so long. Hopefully this loads up. Okay, so let me move forward to 90 hours from now, because this is pretty much when the entire snowstorm is pretty much done. So let's move on to that forecast hour. Okay, guys, so I finally got the European models forecast loaded up, and you see that right around the mid-Atlantic, where they're experiencing close to or over a foot of snow in some cases, just south of Washington, D.C., and even Washington, D.C., right around that area, is experiencing like 9 to 10 inches of snow. Southern New Jersey is involved with over 6 inches of snow, as well as southern Pennsylvania. So this could potentially be major, and if you compare that to the GFS models, snowfall forecast, you're going to see that the GFS model also agrees with this snowfall forecast. For the most, bringing the heaviest snow further southward, towards the mid-Atlantic states, and it's going to be very, very far south, this snowstorm. And this is just going to be a big snowstorm, I'd say, in the mid-Atlantic states. You guys gotta prepare now, because this could bring over a foot of snow. And in terms of my snowfall forecast, based off of what the GS and the European model forecasts are saying, I'm predicting a large area of 6 to 12 inches throughout the mid-Atlantic states and southern New Jersey. There's still uncertainty regarding this storm. Like, it could definitely change, especially since the computer models aren't exactly 100% certain with where the storm will exactly bring the heaviest snowfall. But I'd say for the most part, it's most likely that the southern northeast and the mid-Atlantic states will get the most impact, such as the Delmarva Peninsula, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and throughout the Ohio River Valley, experiencing 6 to 12 inches of snow, and then 3 to 6 just west of that, and then I'd say just south of that. And there could be this next major northeast snowstorm that could bring heavy snowfall throughout the Midwest and the Southeast United States. So keep that in mind when taking a look at the snowfall forecast. And there's still a lot of uncertainty, but I will go over it once we get a little bit more certain of the forecast. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. I hope you guys have